Growing up, I really didn't understand what it was like to have a good, healthy relationship. My parents got divorced when I was very young. My mom asked my dad to leave when I was 7, and that led to their divorce and ultimately led to abuse from an older sibling who was very frustrated and sad and took that out on me. So I learned how to stay quiet, stay out of the way, all the while longing for love and acceptance. When I got into high school, I found love and acceptance in sports, in academics, and in friendships. In fact, I was a really good kid. I was the kid that my friends, their parents wanted them to hang out with me. I even went to church a few times. I had a very good friend in high school named Tom, and I would hang out with his family all the time because they had dinner together. They loved each other. They were nice to each other. And so I even went to church with him, and he would always get me there with the promise of, "You'll feel better if you go." Which was true. The pastor was funny, but nothing really stuck. And so I was thrilled my senior year when I got accepted into the University of Florida. It was the only place I applied. I wanted to go there. My senior year, I had a group of friends that I was the good kid. We had a Christian, her name was Eva, and she and I agreed to live together because neither of us drank, neither of us did drugs, neither of us had lots of boyfriends, so we agreed to live together. My grades were not the best, so I went up to school a little bit early before all of my friends in the summer. I was 17 years old. I was at a school of 45,000 students, and I had no friends. I was totally alone. I was sad, I was scared. And there was one guy from my high school who befriended me. He introduced me to all of his friends. He brought me into fun relationships. Unfortunately, those friends drank, they did drugs, and they were really unhealthy people. But they accepted me, they brought me in. And because I didn't have an upbringing that told me that was wrong, I drank, I did drugs, and I had unhealthy relationships. Well, these stories of all the things I was getting into started trickling down to South Florida, where my soon-to-be roommate Eva was packing and getting ready to go to school. She and her mom started praying almost every night that God would mix up the roommate assignments and that she and I would not live together. So on the moving day, our names were on the door, no mix-up had occurred. And honestly, when I think back to my freshman year, I feel terrible. What I put Eva through, just stupidity, coming in late at night, doing such stupid things, making her worry. It was really bad. But she was never mean, she was never rude, she was always patient. And I didn't know this, but she was praying for me. In the spring semester, after a drunken accident in which I broke 3 fingers and a really low point in a relationship, I just would sit at my desk in my dorm room and stare out the window because I hated my life. I was 18 and my life was terrible. I was failing classes. I was about to lose my scholarship. And I would sit in my dorm and stare out the window. And some days I would notice Eva would walk out there and she'd put a blanket out and she looked to be reading. So when she would come in, I asked her, "What are you doing out there?" And she would tell me she was reading her Bible. I think the first time she told me that, I laughed and I said, "Why? Why would you do that?" And she would answer very nicely. And over the next few weeks, I would ask her questions. I don't even remember what the questions were. And she would always answer kindly and patiently. Well, that year, for Easter, I decided to go home for the weekend, and Eva stayed in Gainesville. And my friend Tom, who was also home from college, invited me to go to the Easter service at his church. He said, "You'll feel better if you go." And so I went. And that service, at the end of the service, they asked people to come forward and receive Christ, say this prayer. I didn't really know what that meant, but I felt in my soul that it was something I needed to do. And I still remember as he said the prayer and the people repeated, I didn't go forward, but I repeated it, and he said, "Wash me clean," and I wanted that so desperately. I had finally found the only person who could give me true love and true acceptance and true relationship. And on that morning, March 30th, 1997, I gave my life to Christ. And I still remember driving back to Gainesville, the sunset. I can still see it in my memory because my eyes were truly opened. It was the first time I was really seeing anything. And I got back to my dorm and I opened the door and I can still see Eva sitting on the floor. a book in front of her studying. And I took a breath and I shyly told her that I prayed to accept Christ. Well, she burst into tears, of course, stood up and hugged me, and we cried on each other's shoulders. And then she pulled away and said, "I wanted to pray with you." And even though she didn't get to, everything changed because of her relationship with me. And the best part is that even though we've known each other since we were 14, we met our freshman year of high school, the day that I accepted Christ, our friendship was bonded forever. We've been through so much over these last years, and she's still my best friend. We still talk almost every day. She's still the person that not only led me to the Lord, but that we hold each other accountable and we walk with the Lord. So relationships are so important, and I know mine was forever changed in that relationship that God brought to me. And I'm so glad that God said no when Eva prayed not to live with me.